Hello, everyone. Welcome to everyone on panel and those joining us from around the globe for Global Ed Student Chat. Today, we'll be discussing student voice and student advocacy. Just to let you know, an overview of Global Ed Student Chat, it's a student-led Twitter chat connecting K-12 students around the world to discuss topics and questions related to character education, social justice, and citizenship. Global Ed Student Chat creates opportunities for students to network with others, gain perspective, build relationships with new learning partners in a literacy-rich learning environment, experience social media as a powerful platform for learning, and establish a positive digital footprint. This month is a special Global Ed Student Chat because we're collaborating with the Asia Society Center for Global Education, or Global Ed Chat, and the Digital Promise Youth Made Festival. So we'll be using the hashtags Global Ed SS Chat, hashtag Global Ed Chat, and also hashtag Youth Made. So thank you so much for joining us. And we have Sam that's going to be explaining how to get involved in our back channels to engage in conversation.
Yeah, so if you're watching us on YouTube, you can just comment right down below or to the side, depending on what device you're on, and to join in on the conversation. You might have to sign into a Google account for that, but that's pretty easy. If you're on Twitter, or if you're watching on YouTube and would like to join on Twitter, use the hashtag Global Ed Student Chat to read ideas, thoughts, and questions shared by everybody else. We'll use the Q1A1 format. Use our hashtag Global Ed Student Chat or Global Ed Chat today to add your thinking and get involved with the conversation. Feel free to involve your first name and where in the world you're joining from today. If you ask questions, we'll bring them to the panel. Please remember that our audience is for students of all ages, so your comments and questions should be appropriate for everybody.
Thank you, Sam. And we have an expert on panel today joining us, Mr. Grayson Mckinney. Grayson, if you'd like to introduce yourself and let everybody know your role, where you're joining from, that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much to everybody for having me. It's an honor to be among you guys. You guys are like the rock stars. My class has looked up to you and watched your live streams for a couple of years now. And I have a personal connection with a couple of you, actually. Nishad was a student of mine last year in my 5th grade class in Troy, Michigan. And Naima, your sister actually was one of my critical reviewers on the book that I published last year called The Expert Effect. And I recognize your axolotl in the background. So it's awesome to have both of you. And everybody else, I'm super excited to meet you and talk to you today. So as I said, my name is Grayson Mckinney, and I am a 5th grade teacher from Troy, Michigan. This has been my 15th year of teaching. Before the show, we were just talking about how many days we have left, and I believe I have about 25 days until my 15th year is in the books. Speaking of books, like I mentioned, I co-authored this book called The Expert Effect, which is a 3-part system to get students to break down the walls of their classroom and connect with experts from around the world. And actually, a week from today, my second book is coming out. This is actually a classroom companion to the first called The Expert Expedition. And it's a picture book that takes the learners through a journey of learning from experts outside of the classroom teacher, becoming an expert in their own right through project-based learning, and then teaching others using their voice, which is why I'm so excited to talk about the topic that you guys have selected for today, which is student voice and the power it holds.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that introduction. Congratulations on the books and the new companion book. Excited to see those out in the open. I love that you had some student critical reviewers to that. It fits very perfect with what we're talking about today. So let's go around the roundtable here and do some student introductions. I'm going to just go around in the order I see everybody here. Namya, you want to start us out?
Sure. So, hi everyone. It's great to be back here again. I'm Namya Joshi, and I study in grade 10 at South Point Middle School in India. And I'm pretty excited for the last Global Ed Student Chat for this year, and very much excited to hear everybody's thoughts on whatever they think about student voice. Thank you.
Thank you. And Naima?
Hi, I'm Naima. I'm in the 7th grade and I live in Maryland, and I'm really excited to talk with everyone about advocacy and student voice.
Excellent. And Rebecca?
Hi, my name is Rebecca. I'm in grade 10 and I live in Canada, Ontario, and I still can't believe that this is our last meeting for the year.
The time flies when you're having fun. And Nishad.
Hi, my name is Nishaz Patil. I live in Troy, Michigan, and I'm in 6th grade. So yeah, I'm really excited to be talking about student voice and advocacy and the importance of it.
Thank you. And Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm the veteran here at Global Ed Student Chat. I've been here since the beginning. I'm in grade 11 in LDSS in Ontario.
Thanks, Sam. All right, Rebecca, if you'd like to take us through the norms, and then we'll get into some questions.
For sure. So we will have 30 minutes to discuss 3 questions. Please be mindful that this chat is open to students in K to 12. Active participation from all classes is how we learn. All comments made during the chat should be positive and productive. And we welcome diverse opinions. You may not agree with something someone has said, but we ask that when challenging an idea, you respectfully disagree with the idea and not the individual person. And being respectful online includes using language that is inclusive and culturally appropriate.
Excellent. All right, Nami, I think we're ready. If you want to take us into the questions for this tweet and talk.
Sure. So our first question lined up is, what does it mean to have a voice? And what are some ways you can develop your voice?
All right, so I'm going to take a swing at the question. To me, having a voice means having an opinion and a say in the way your life operates around you. So, having a voice and knowing your worth will allow you to be successful in whatever you decide to do. It is good to start developing your voice at a young age, and some ways to do this is by growing your confidence and facing your fears. By putting yourself in positions that push your limits and force you to be brave, for example, if public speaking scares you, you have to practice it until it comes to you with ease. Different things and aspects that allow you to get used to being out there is a very effective method to developing your voice.
That sounds so cool, and I agree with that. Because to have a voice means to be given the opportunity to express yourself, to have an opinion, to vocalize your thoughts, and to be heard in your own authentic way. And having a voice provides us with an individual agency and power, as well as means of expressing our beliefs with each other. And I too believe that some ways to develop our voice in the society are to believe in what we have to say is valuable, to trust our outrage, to refuse to be silenced for the wrong, to speak the truth, and to not be afraid of standing alone. If nobody is there with us, but if we're standing for the right path, then we should do that. To not dismiss our inner voice, developing courage to stand for others, being ourselves, and at the same time, helping others to do the same.
That was great. I feel like, yeah, a voice. I think, in my opinion, what having a voice really means is having a voice is really just how you express who you are and what you're feeling inside. So a voice is kind of your ability, your way to express yourself and your feelings to everyone else outside the world.
I can go next. I agree with what everyone said so far. I feel like having a voice is kind of having an opinion and a way to express that opinion, whether it's like just through like traditional means of like speaking or writing or drawing or like even like making videos and stuff. I feel like having a voice is kind of just having that appeal to express your opinions and like what you're thinking. And I think some ways you can develop that voice are kind of like what Rebecca said, like building your self confidence and stuff. And I feel like it's really important as well.
For me, having a voice means you have some sort of say in what happens around you. You don't necessarily always have a say in what happens around you, but you have that ability to kind of speak your mind and have your opinion out there. And that's what we're doing here. We're giving students voices. We ask for people to talk on Twitter and give their opinions on things. And in your school, I know that's a question that's coming up. We're going to talk about schools. Like, It means to have a say in kind of what goes on in the school building or at home or at your job. So it's really important to have a voice, and all the ways that you guys have mentioned on how to develop your voice. Great. It's awesome. I'd also like to say hi to everybody that is on Twitter. We've got a couple good answers to our questions on Twitter. So if you're not on Twitter, you want to go check out the questions, go right ahead. Hashtag Global Ed Student Chat.
And what I said about the voice, it's being an extension of kind of who you are to talk with society. It's also the way to develop your voice, I feel, is you need to kind of talk louder too. So if someone's not hearing you, maybe you need to just reach out more. But also, what you're talking about might also another way to develop your voice, let's just say, would also be able increasing the quality of what you're saying, and that can also help a lot of people listen to what you're saying too.
I love these ideas. You guys, the future is bright. I'm so inspired by what you've already said. I think I heard some great ideas that kind of hinted at like the voice as the expression of your identity. And so one thing that is just coming to me now is that, you need to know who you are first, and you need to know what your opinions are, and you need to, get in touch with who you want to portray to the world, and who, what are the things that you believe in. So I think that part of your voice is knowing your identity and being in touch with that. And that's something that, coming at it from a teacher's perspective, that's something that we can encourage students to do, is to reflect on their own identity and then bring their voice, right? And the other thing is that student voice is like the key to linking the things that we have to do in school with who we are as learners, what you're passionate about, what you believe, what you're curious about. There was once a time when the role of the teacher was to be the expert on the stage in front of the classroom, doling out all of the information. And the student's only job was, at that time, was to soak up as much information as they could and spit it back out to the teacher in the form of a quiz or a test. And I don't know if this reference is too old for you or not, but I picture, Charlie Brown's teacher, the voice of a muted trumpet droning on and on. And it's the only voice that you hear in that cartoon. And so it's the only one that's treated as valuable or worth hearing. But without student voice being lifted up and valued, schools would be very monotonous. And so I think like student voice is like the spice of life. And without it, it would be bland.
Right, I guess we can go towards the next question. So, why is it important for students to have a voice today? For example, at home, work, or at school, so that they can share their ideas with people around them?
All right, I can start this one off, but Sarah, I just wanted to say I love your analogy with Charlie Brown's teacher. That was beautifully said. So for this question, what I've said is when students have a voice, it allows for them to have an opinion about their life, education, and behavior, and start acting towards the way that they want to be treated. For example, in a school setting, especially since we just faced a global pandemic, it's crucially important for students to have a voice now more than ever, because when the pandemic affected the way students were taught with a constant online and in-person switching, it was easy to fall behind. All it takes is one student to speak up and talk to their educator, about the pace of the material, past work that might be unclear, or anything at all that needs to change. By voicing their problems or concerns, this one student could have potentially helped some of their classmates who have not fully yet developed their voice. Developing your voice and knowing your worth at a young age can only benefit you further as you get older.
That's a really lovely example, Rebecca. I completely agree with that. And I believe that when students have a voice, they are 3 times more likely to experience self-worth in their school. When students are heard, they are 5 times more likely to experience engagement in school. And when they have a voice, they're 7 times more likely to experience purpose in school. So it is important that we share our thoughts, ideas, and opinions that are genuine in an environment underpinned by trust and respect, because we are the future leaders. And if we have a strong voice, then together we all can achieve more.
On what Namia said. So the younger generations, they are the future of the world. So it's really important that they have a say in what's going to happen, because eventually the whole when they grow up, everything that's going to happen, they're going to be have more control. So it's also important that they kind of get practice with using their voice out there. So when it's really matters, and I'm not saying as a child it doesn't matter, but when it matters, when you grow up also, you're ready for that.
Um, I also think that a voice is like important because, like Rebecca said, you can't really get like advocacy or like get change like to happen if you're not advocating for it. And so having that voice and using your voice to be able to like advocate for things and tell people why something's wrong or why something needs to change is very important.
Yeah, because I just feel like the world, nothing's gonna change if you stay silent, and it's really the not nothing is gonna change if you stay silent. So if you wanna, the only way to fix stuff is to talk, and I don't know anyone else better than this young people of the world to change this, and it's very important because your voice is the way you also, like I said, affect society. And it's not just something to protect yourself, it's something that can help make the whole world better. And when you think about it, since a lot of children have the most imagination, and it's really important that they are able to contribute to society, because with that imagination there could be so many new ideas coming out.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add. You guys are great. I would like to add some stuff from Twitter though. Journeys in Film have been very active on Twitter. They said, student voice is so important as educators. We need to know what students need and what works for them and what doesn't. How they learn best, what makes them feel safe and valued. Without student voice, their needs cannot be made effectively. I want to expand on that. That's true. And without their voice, like they won't learn as well either, because then they're not actively participating in stuff. So that's great. There's even more here. It's great, guys.
I was taking notes and I didn't have any paper, so I've been writing on my coffee cup because I wanted to come back to some of the things that you guys brought up. Number one, Naima and Rebecca talking about like using voice to advocate to solve real problems that students are identifying themselves is, I think, one of the biggest important reasons for giving students the chance to develop their voice. And when Namia was talking about the three, I think you mentioned um, three different outcomes or benefits of giving students their voice. You said engagement, value, and purpose, and it increases all of those. So, and I agree. I think that like the biggest problem that's affecting all students in all schools everywhere, whether you're virtual or in person, is the crisis of disconnection, not seeing why school is a meaningful, purposeful use of your time. So we need to make it so that learning environments of all kinds are preparing young people to thrive and transform the world, like what Nishad said. You know, you guys are the ones who are going to be having to change the way that things have been going. The traditional design of schooling that's still common today basically originated in order to establish some basic level of knowledge and skills across a wide mass of people, right? And this is a system that's been separating, sorting, ranking students in an oppressive way. And it's been reproducing those inequities and gaps in our society. So in order to get more meaningful student involvement, we need to change the role of students as passive recipients of information to the active partners. Like what Sam said, you know, getting the voice, it will improve their educational outcomes, right? And I think Nishad was hinting, like the most innovative companies around the world are not looking for workers who can just simply comply with directions and follow orders. They're looking for problem finders who can come up with innovative solutions to problems we don't even know exist yet.
I'll just add real quick too. Here at my school, we host a student ed camp, and it always happens at the end of the year. And it's amazing, and it's one of the best days of the year. It's It's a student-led conference, right? Students leading sessions around their passions, things like that, and we learned so much about them, things that we didn't even know. I always wonder what would happen if we put that in the beginning of the school year. How much would that help to amplify student voice and things like that? So, love all of the talk here, and love seeing the conversation on Twitter. All right, Nam, you want to take us into question 3?
Sure. So the third question here for us is, what does your school or your school board do to ensure the students are heard? Or how can they do better if they aren't doing enough for that?
I can go first on this one. I know our school board, and I don't know if this is Ontario-wide or not, but I know specifically for our school board, each school has 2 student ambassadors, which go to meetings with board members, I think at least once a month sometime, and they get together with other ambassadors as well from other schools to talk about what they want to do in schools and stuff. And that's kind of our biggest way of making sure students are heard in our board. And I think that they're doing a great job. I know they all just organized a new mural to go up in every AMDSB school. So I think that is a great way to make sure that your school board is talking enough to students as well. Just having a couple student representatives and then do some polls in schools, and our school does all of that, and I think they do great with that.
I agree with Sam here because our school also has the same kind of democratic environment wherein kids are given chance to elect their own leaders. That is known in my school as student house council, where we have like head boy, head girl, house captains of different houses, and they listen to the voice of the children and then further take it to the priorities. And also, like, there's some main processes in my school, such as there's a library committee wherein that's the part of the other heads, as well as the head boy and the head girl is part of it. So they ask the children which books they need, and then they give the suggestion to the librarian after the poll is taken, that which all books can be added to the library. Then there's also like complaint handling by the house council members itself, such as bullying, so that they can raise their voice and that can help them to resolve the issues. We have this act called POXO, wherein like were there any things that the children is facing in the school that is inappropriate, so they can go ahead and talk it out to the head boy, head girl, or the school authorities, and then they can present it to the heads, and in this way they can be able to voice out their problems that they're facing in the school. Also, we have this wonderful thing called student-led clubs. So this is basically made for children by children. So, like, for example, we have different clubs like marketing, business, podcast, Minecraft, book clubs. So these all clubs are held by children for children. So another way to enhance the student voice, because that's where you come, is a platform for you to come ahead and share your thoughts and your experiences in different kind of like paths, for example, business and all. And also, lastly, we do have like magazines of the school coming out every year. Again, that's for children by children. So the entire designing, editing, creating, except printing, is done by children. And then the magazines are given out to the children later. So all these are ways for children to come ahead and ensure that they are heard and their values are taken in. And I guess if some schools which aren't able to do them, they can always take ideas and then they can start adding them to their own curriculum and the environment to make it more student friendly.
That was very, very, very well said. I love that. And so, yeah, I think one thing my school does is we have a student council, and the student council has like a very, very big influence on our school. And it's also that if you don't get elected for the student council, it's not a big deal because anyone can really show their voice, and it also gets responded to in my school. Like, for example, me and my friend, we wanted to, so 7th and 8th grade, they do something for Earth Day, and we noticed that 6th grade doesn't do anything. So we brought an idea and it did get implemented. But one thing I think we could do to make student advocacy better is take it one step further and not keep it trapped kind of in the school, but help it kind of get more outside into the world, or to the like hire people who could affect like implement the changes at a higher level.
Well said. So for me at my school, here at Cardinal Carter under the York Catholic District School Board, also known as the YCDSB, lots of opportunities are provided for students to use their voices. Not only are all of our teachers open to hear our concerns and opinions, but there are surveys that come regularly from the school board for students to fill out to ensure that we're happy. Additionally, the York Catholic District School Board has a student-run council, kind of like what Sam mentioned his school board has, where the kids on this council from different Catholic schools under the board are there to voice their opinions from their schools. They create fun events and more opportunities to have even more students' voices heard. However, although I know there is always room to grow, I struggle to think of how they can do better, because not only does my school board do that, but Cardinal Carter, my school itself, has lots of student-run extracurriculars and events, kind of like what Namia had mentioned, and they continue to stand as good representation of student voice. These events and opportunities are open to the entire student body all year round, and I believe that my school and school board do a great job of ensuring that students' voices are heard and truly listened to.
So for my school, because I go to a virtual school, there isn't like a lot of room for like virtual clubs, or like not virtual, like student like clubs and stuff, because it's kind of harder to set up like meeting spaces. But I think my school does a very good job of listening to our concerns and like taking in what we're saying. Um, like we have lots of surveys that go out every year for like students. They're like anonymous surveys, kind of like Rebecca said, where like they put them out so that you can fill out about your school experience, as well as we also have a student council, and they kind of like go around and kind of collect the students' concerns as well as their concerns, because they're also students, and they kind of like integrate those into our everyday school life. And I think it's like really like great what they're doing, but they could also make a bigger window to join, like if you would like to join things like the student council, or like be in these like things that you can share your voice. They don't give as big of a window as I would like, but they still do a really good job.
I just want to take a moment to kind of talk about the how we can do better part about this question. I think really most schools have things in place already for students to have their voice heard, but maybe students aren't encouraged enough to do it. For instance, student council. There are a very select few students who even think about doing anything with student council because they think, oh, gross, student council, I don't care. I think what schools and boards and whatever need to do is just find a way to encourage students more to speak up. Because as a high school student who hangs out with other high school students, I know they don't care, but they do. They just don't want to say anything about it. I know our school and our board has been switching from 4 classes a day to this year we started with 2 classes a day and flip-flopping which 2 classes we had every week. And some students preferred that a lot more than the 4 classes a day, some don't. And they didn't really ask students before they switched that. So that could have been a spot where they could ask students instead of just kind of switching things on people. So that more of just including students a little bit more, or at least asking before changes are made. Like I mentioned the new mural in our school. They painted over an old mural to put that mural up. they should have maybe asked students before they painted over the old mural. It could have meant something to some students. So it's just some things they try, but maybe they need to try a little bit more to include all students and not just the students who are wanting to go ahead and do student council. I know some students have an opinion, but they don't want to be a part of this council, or they don't want to be in charge of other things. They just want to have maybe their voice heard. So I think just that encouragement of getting people to join student council and to ask people that aren't in student council.
One thing that I wanted to add on while listening to you, Sam, I just read an article about exercise. I ran my first half marathon this last fall, and I'm training for another one right now. I'm going to run 13.1 miles this spring. And it's not always easy to get out and, get in those like training runs. But this article was about how to start small. And they said that on some days, their only goal was to run for 60 seconds, 60 consecutive seconds. And you might say, well, what's that going to do? How is that going to make you a better runner? But it gets you into the habit of doing something. And I guess the mentality was doing something is better than doing nothing. And so if we think about how that could apply to, students using their voice, or schools encouraging more student voice, think that same way. Something is better than nothing. So it doesn't mean, I totally agree. You don't need to join the student council, or you don't need to be the one to, lead a student walkout in protest of a decision that the board made without student input. But small opportunities to share their voices, I think, are very powerful, because it gets you into the habit of exercising your voice for good. So I just wanted to add that.
That was good. And I just want to say, at the end of the day, schools are really made for the children. So the children, I feel, should have the biggest say of what happens in them. Because in the end, if the school environment isn't well, then students are going to get bad grades. School might get shut down eventually. So students, I really do feel, just should have the most influence on what happens in their school, because it's something made for them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love that we ended there with some student voice to close out our topic on student voice and advocacy. Just want to say thank you so much to everyone who joined us online, who joined us here on YouTube Live. You can continue. This is our last Tweet and Talk for this school year, for the 2021-2022 school year. We will be back in 2022-2023. Kicking things off next October. Big thanks to our student team here on panel today: Namia, Naima, Rebecca, Nishad, and Sam. Our students working behind the scenes: Niyati, Anahit, and Madeline. Our other educator leads here: Jennifer and Lee. And our expert on panel today, Grayson Mckinney. Thank you so much for adding such insight to everything around this topic. Please keep the conversation going by answering the slow chat questions for the rest of the month. You can use the hashtag Global Ed Student Chat. Or Global Ed SS Chat. So our team will be able to interact with you there. This month, you can also use the hashtags Global Ed Chat and Youth Made. You can follow us on social media. Our website is at globaledsSChat.com. We're on Twitter at Global Ed SS Chat, as well as on Instagram. You can also find us on the Flipgrid Discovery Library. Watch for details about our next chat, which, like I mentioned, will take place in the upcoming school year in October of 2022. Super excited to be back with you then. Please note that we're currently and always recruiting members for our social media ambassador program. If you've tuned into a Global Ed Student Chat this year and this looks like something that you'd like to be a part of, please DM us on Twitter for some more information, and we will be in touch. So thank you again for joining us, everybody, and we will see you online. Be well.